Hi there. Researchers have delighted us not only with mummy-filled sarcophagi, but also with finding gold and lost pirate ships. Well, it just so happens that researchers stumbled upon giants of the past, from times of the First and Second World War. And judging by the findings, these engineers had more than enough. What do you think it looks like? Seems like something from the new Star Wars series. But no, many of these strange tanks have been lost. They were developed in Venezuela in 1934. A logical question arises: how and why? The government has set a clear goal for engineers. They need to intimidate neighboring Colombia with miracle technologies. Of course, this intimidation is a bit dubious, given the fact that this model's name translates as turtle. The armor of the tank is in the form of a pyramid, which was attached to the all-wheel drive six-wheeled Ford truck, and it only had one machine gun which was provided on the weapon tower. This machine was created in order to turn the tide of the First World War, but fate decided otherwise. This mega tank absorbed the mud of the dense forest and was abandoned forever, until 2002-2003, when researchers discovered the rusted parts of this large mechanism. We are talking now about the Tsar tank, which was developed by engineer Nikolai Lebedenko. Having achieved an audience with Nicholas II, he charmed the Russian Tsar with a wooden model of his tank, which moved with the help of a winding mechanism. The Tsar was so inspired by a possible breakthrough in technology that he did not spare any money and spent 200,000 gold rubles from his own funds to turn the wooden toy into a full-fledged prototype. On the sides of this miracle of technology, there were two wheels with a diameter of 30 feet, and between them a powerful armored frame with a circular turret. The tank was nearly 60 feet long, 39 feet wide, and weighed about 60 tons. For comparison, today's Challenger tank is just a couple of tons ahead of this dinosaur. The details were prepared at one of the Moscow factories, and this miracle weapon itself was meant to turn the tide of the war, and all of the details were collected in secret from everyone. However, this vehicle did not pass the tests, forever stuck in the forest near Moscow. In 1917, Lebedenko left Russia, and his brainchild rusted in the wilderness for several years before, as historians say, it was cut into scrap metal. For the 100th anniversary of the testing of the Tsar tank at the initiative of one of the museums, a full-size metal model of this tank was created. Now it sits above the territory of the museum complex. How do you like this miracle? Of course, I would like to see this confrontation between the Tsar tank and this Italian development. The contemporary of the Tsar tank was used during the First World War. Today, it is one of the most mysterious vehicles in the world of tanks, since there is particularly no information on it. It is only known that in addition to its incredible dimensions and unusual appearance, the tank had a cannon that fired shells of 305mm caliber. For comparison, modern heavy tanks generally have a caliber of 120mm. Presumably, this giant was used in the shelling of the Austrian fortifications in the Alps. Remember how in Peter Berg's Battleship movie, aliens attack our ship with these balls? Now take a look at this. Doesn't it look like something? Apparently, the directors of the film were inspired by the project of the Third Reich. They say that this 2-ton machine exists in a single copy at the Kubinka Tank Museum in Russia. Almost nothing is known about it. Only a few things are clear. This spherical tank, or Kugelpanzer, was produced in Nazi Germany by the Krupp Company and was captured by Soviet troops in 1945, allegedly at a German training ground. The cockpit was equipped only with a radio station. No weapons were found in it. The hull was practically one piece, and the cockpit could only be accessed through a hatch. The engine is a single-cylinder motorcycle. Experts suggest that this mechanism was designed to correct the course of artillery strikes. Would you like to ride such a specimen? Write about it in the comments. But this tank would hardly ever get lost in the forest or the desert, but I really want to talk about it. TV-8 was created by Chrysler in 1955. You probably noticed all at once that it has several striking distinctive features. First, it has a huge stationary tower rigidly mounted on a lightweight chassis as a single monolith without a single slot. The second is the solution proposed by the engineers to feed the tank from a compact nuclear reactor located right in the tower. And third, there are television cameras located on the tower so that the crew is not blinded by the explosion of an atomic bomb. Have you already guessed what it was intended for? It was supposed to conduct hostilities in a nuclear war, that is, near a nuclear explosion. They wanted to equip this vehicle with 2 machine guns and a 90mm cannon. Such a project greatly impressed the US military leadership, and it would seem that it would soon be put on the conveyor belt. But to its dismay, no one thought about the only flaw in the design. Creating a small nuclear reactor for the tank turned out to be a difficult task. And there was also a great risk that with a direct hit from a shell into the reactor, the consequences would be dire, not only for the crew, but also for the soldiers and the rest of the equipment around the tank. So the euphoria quickly passed and the project had to be abandoned. Weight: 1,000 tons, 128 feet long, and 36 feet high. If this massive tank had been built in the 40s of the last century, it would have become the largest in history. Moreover, this record would not have been broken to this day. Impressed? It comes from the Rata tank, which means rat. The engineers of the Third Reich shone with their imagination, creativity, and ambition. It is not known how everything would have turned out in the Second World War if the tank had been released. Although, who knows, maybe it would have rusted in some dense forests. But according to official data, the German military leadership chose not to develop the project of this model since its implementation would require an incredible amount of resources, which is not surprising. It was planned to equip this tank with a pair of naval guns with a caliber of 280mm, a 128mm cannon, and 10 machine guns. As for the engines, the engineers wanted to put 2 diesel marine engines on the tank. How much horsepower do you think it would take to accelerate a tank weighing 1,000 tons to at least 15 miles per hour? I look forward to your responses in the comments. It was not only just the United States that developed tanks for nuclear war conditions. The engineers of the Soviet Union did not lag behind. The team of designers of the Leningrad Kirov plant in 1957 developed a prototype of a heavy tank called Object 279. One of a kind according to the official version. Although it is possible that someday some mushroom pickers will stumble upon this vehicle somewhere in the wilds of Siberia. The hull of the tank had a cast curvilinear shape in the form of an elongated ellipsoid, but the chassis of the tank deserves special attention. Have you already noticed 4 tracks located under the bottom of the hull? Such a design of the undercarriage provided this vehicle with an actual lack of clearance, as a result of which landing upside down was impossible, which increased the cross-country ability in deep snow and wetlands, and the special shape of the tank made it possible to resist overturning in a nuclear explosion. However, there were some problems here as well. The undercarriage was difficult to operate and repair, although it had a high cross-country ability. And that's all for today. Which tank impressed you most? Write about it in the comments. Also, don't forget to put like if you like this video. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more.